Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Dramocrats being dramocrats, my friends. That is the way that these jokers and clowns behave. Alex Padilla, as we've been talking about, look, this is not to be taken seriously. This was a planned, orchestrated event by the dramocrats. They've gotten what they wanted from this. This is not what they want you to believe. This is not evidence that Trump is Hitler, an authoritarian regime. This is evidence that we have a party who's not in power that will do whatever it can. Again, this is an extension of the Seinfeld-Newman strategy. They tried to employ this to prevent Trump from winning, really in 2016, 2020, and then 2024 most recently. But their strategy has been to do whatever they can, whatever it takes, I should say, as long as it takes them, so long as it takes Trump away from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They failed in that endeavor, so now they're on to doing whatever they can to prevent Trump from being able to complete his agenda, interfere with deportation efforts, which is what they're working on most recently. And so we're talking about that. I want to talk a little bit about Israel, too, which happened last night. You would have seen Israel has engaged in strikes, missiles, or bombing raids on Iranian nuclear facilities, also taking out key leadership, generals, scientists. It's a pretty remarkably successful, mission for the Israelis. This, of course, has left us up in arms. They say Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon. The level of stupidity to come to that conclusion, my friends, is beyond me. It truly is. Tell me you know nothing about the People's Republic of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. Tell me you know nothing about them, their leadership. This, by the way, is directed at their leaders. In fact, their people have been positioning to move in the direction of democracy and freedom. They just have not been allowed to do that because of these insane lunatics that run the nation of Iran. Obama had the opportunity, by the way, to stand with the people of Iran when he was president. He did not. Instead, they've got these crazy theocrats that are running the show, creating Iran, making it into an Islamic republic. The Ayatollahs, it's a mess. It's a mess. The leadership is a mess. The people want to be free. They've been living under oppression for a long, long time. And because of these crazy leaders, which we'll get to time permitting here, Israel knows they get a bomb. They have made it clear in the past. Iran has. They want to wipe Israel off the face of the planet. They've said this. They hate Israel. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is what the Iranian leaders believe in. They agree with that principle. They hate Israel, and they will do whatever they can to destroy Israel. They've made this abundantly clear. Iran needs a nuclear weapon like we all need another hole in our respective noggins. Anyway, my friends, that's the direction we're going here this hour of the program today. Before I do that, though, let me remind you that there is very little that's more important than a good night's sleep. The older I get, the more I agree with that. This is coming from a guy that doesn't even need much sleep, who doesn't even like, as a kid, I remember I hated sleep because sleeping was boring. I remember thinking that. And there's a part of me today as an adult that thinks that. But also, as I've gotten older, the more I've come to respect and understand the true importance of sleep. It's where we recharge our batteries, my friends, and we need to make it as peaceful and as pleasant and as restful as possible. That's where MyPillow comes in with their patented pillows. Again, as I've shared before, I like the patented adjustable fill of the MyPillow so that I can be a side sleeper. I'm a side sleeper. I put that MyPillow between my big head and my broad shoulders, and it supports my neck through the night. It lets me sleep on my side, I should say. And it also has cooling technology, which is wonderful for a person like me who hates being hot when I sleep. I love MyPillow. They've got other products as well, sheets and towels. We have those. Slippers, Oz have those on today. Dog beds for the dogs here, Tango, Echo, and Kilo. Get a whole lot more at MyPillow, but you'll get a discount if you use my name, Todd, my friends. MyPillow.com, promo code Todd. Get you discounts there. Again, MyPillow.com, promo code Todd. I want to get to Israel, so I want to get through as much as I can with Padilla. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. Senator Padilla acting like a fool over here, making mountains out of molehills, misrepresenting what's going on, and with the complicity and help of the media, is able to push a narrative that says, look, this senator just wanted to ask a question. He just wanted to ask a question. He raised his hand peaceably, without any shenanigans, just a student out there in the class, had a genuine question, and Kristi Noem told the Gestapo to go arrest him and throw him to the ground and handcuff him. That's what they want you to believe happened. Nothing is further from the truth. This was a planned sideshow. This was orchestrated. They got what they wanted. They made Senator Padilla, advance to the podium where Kristi Noem was speaking. He was physically stopped by Secret Service, law enforcement. He continued to push into them. He was acting provocatively. He was yelling out questions. Pushing ensued. He then decided to say, get your hands off me. I'm Senator Padilla. They pushed him out of the room. They got him under their control. He turned his back. He was put on the ground. He wasn't body slammed, but he was placed face down on the ground. I would say Padilla, technically by the book could have said he was resisting, even though he wasn't arrested. He was pushing back against the officers. They were trying to get him on the floor. He was still pushing back as though he was, trying to at least kneel up or stand up. And that's what happened. They put him in cuffs. They realized who he was. They realized that he didn't pose a threat. They probably realized that this was some really poor political theater. And he wasn't arrested. He wasn't detained. But then the real drama began. Well, the additional drama, the follow-up drama, Act 2, if you will, began. And that's what I want to get to now. So you got Padilla out there going to a ever so excited media to tell the story about what happened. And this is one of the things that Padilla, told the media about his encounter with the Secret Service and law enforcement as he was advancing on Kristi Noem as she was at the podium speaking. Here's what he has to say.
I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask
at one point,
a question.
Yeah, just peaceably, right there.
I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room.
Because you were advancing on the podium, dude.
I was forced to the ground.
Oh.
And I was handcuffed.
Well, that's exactly what should have happened.
I was not arrested. I was not detained. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question,
if
this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine.
Oh, yes. Hit the high points. Get the emotion.
What they're doing to farm workers, to cooks,
fight off the tears here,
to day laborers, out in the Los Angeles community,
political performance,
and throughout California, and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable.
Okay. All right. So, cue the tears. He's talking about just peaceable, farm workers and cooks or whatever he said there. If they treat a senator like this, think about how they treat these other folks. Oh, that's what. Look, this is designed to be emotionalized. The law is clear. There is literally nothing this administration is doing, and as it pertains to enforcing the law, that is wrong. There's literally nothing. You can make the case, as a court has decided, that has ruled against Trump's ability to call in the National Guard, saying that that's a violation of the Constitution, the 10th Amendment. That's the responsibility of the governor. I happen to think that in the appeals process, which of course they are appealing this, I don't know that that's as cut and dry as they make it, as this particular ruling makes it seem. Typically, governors are the ones who deploy the National Guard. But what do you do when things have been turned into a disaster area and the leadership of the country refuses, or I should say leadership of the state, refuses to secure and protect their citizens? Can the president not do that by declaring whatever, an emergency or whatever, and then doing what it takes to create security for the area? I don't know that this is as cut and dry as they want you to think it is. Anyway, that's what's going on here. But none of this is real. None of this is real. Again, ICE is going after. I listened to an interview. Can't believe I'm saying this. Dr. Phil was on with Chris Cuomo. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would say to you, I listened to an interview with Dr. Phil on tough guy Chris Cuomo's show. But I have to say, Dr. Phil is 100% right. He was very, and kudos to Cuomo. Cuomo has been on the wrong side of so many things. He was on completely the wrong side of COVID, mocking and ridiculing and wanting to force those of you who did not get the vaccine to have to be vaccinated and all that stuff. The arrogance drips all off this guy. I mean, he is very, very, thinks very, very highly of himself and thinks very, very highly of the Democrats that he supports. But he's also become fairer as he's moved into it. And maybe it's just for survival because he realizes what they were doing over at CNN is not a sustainable business model. I don't know. But he's got this new what's it called? I can see the logo. I just can't think of what his outfit's called at the moment. But regardless, he's got Dr. Phil on. And Dr. Phil says the administration has three priorities with these immigration raids. There's three priorities, with immigration in general. The first was to secure the border, which, of course, is the first thing that makes sense to do. Make sure that we don't allow the problem to get any worse. We know we've got a lot of people here illegally in our country. Let's secure the border, number one. Number two, let's target the people who are the most dangerous. And Dr. Phil explained this almost exactly as I explained it on here to you the other day. He must have been listening is all I can gather. But he explained it in a very similar way. They're targeting people that are the worst of the worst. These are the people who have connections to gangs. They've been connected to drug use. The left, this is where the left begins the attempt to conflate things and try to confuse you. They'll say, wait a minute, how can they say this guy that they're trying to deport is, someone who's in a gang when he's never been tried and convicted of anything to say that he was in a gang? Well, that's not the level of proof the administration needs. They can deport anybody, whether you're in a gang or not. They're starting with the people that they believe have gang affiliations. They're starting with the people they believe who are the most violent offenders. They're starting with the people they believe sometimes demonstrably have criminal records, sometimes have been charged with other crimes. They're starting with the people who have caused the most havoc, who pose the greatest risk in our country. They are deporting them. And just as I said, if they go to have a raid, which why are they having a raid? They're having to have a raid because these sanctuary states and sanctuary cities will not give access, will not hand these folks over, will not put them into the custody of ICE. That violates their sanctuary city policies. And so ICE says, fine, do it your way. We'll show up and we'll get them ourselves. We'll do our raids. We will find them. And in the process of finding these people, if we find other non-violent people, violent or non-violent, who are here illegally, they can be deported too. That is the second priority. Target the people who are the biggest threats. Secure the border, number one. Target the people who are here that are the biggest threats. By the way, this is exactly how you would do this if you were tasked with stopping the problem of illegal immigration. This is 100% how the average person would do this. You stop the problem, make sure that it's not made any worse. Then you get rid of the people who are the most threatening, the most dangerous who are here. You know that you have the law on your side to get rid of anybody, but you start with the ones who are the greatest risk. Why is this even a topic of discussion? It's exactly what any person with a brain would do. Lastly, they're trying to find the missing children. There's lots of kids that have gone missing through the immigration process. They don't know if some of these kids are just in places they don't know. They don't know if some of these kids are tied up in forced labor situations or child trafficking situations. They're trying to find these folks as well. That's what's trying to be done. That's what the administration is trying to do. Padilla wants you to believe that they're going after people who are cooks and waiters and hotel staffs and gardeners or whatever else the left says. If you listen to the left and you listen to the jobs they list that people who immigrate to this country do, it is so patronizing and condescending. You've heard him say, well, who's going to be the maids at hotels? What in the world is wrong with these people? These folks the folks that come from Central and South America or wherever they're coming from around the world, they have the capability to do a lot more than what these leftists. It's so condescending. Who's going to pick our vegetables? That's what they say. Look, I understand that there are certainly people who come over as laborers who are, sometimes they have work permits, sometimes they're here illegally. I understand that. I also understand that if given the tools and the opportunities in this country, they can do anything else anybody else can do. I mean, we all have our limitations as to what our skill set is and all that sort of stuff. Everybody's an individual at that level, but they're not just, relegated to the ranks of being hotel wait staff. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying just the condescension of this. Our cooks and farmers and hotel staff. And he fake cries. He tears up. He says if they won't even take a question, Senator Padilla, sitting U.S. Senator, this guy is an absolute clown. I don't know how, this guy does not need to be taken seriously. This is a shenanigan. This is a sideshow. This is dramacrat being a dramacrat. There is nothing real here. This is all fake. All of it. Fake, made up, manufactured. The narrative is manufactured. They want you to think that they're going into schools and trying to find kids, trying to find moms and dads, trying to find the peaceful illegal immigrant. Listen, they can be deported by law. And by the way, Dr. Phil said this as well. If you want to protest somewhere, protest around the lawmakers. Protest and get them to change the law. Let's have a debate on these things. The more we get from these obvious people that need to be deported, once we get through the group here, there's going to be people all along the way that are going to say, okay, we've reached the point that I think we need to do something else about this. Now, there's some who say no amnesty for anybody, none of this stuff, no pathway to citizenship. It doesn't matter if they've been here peaceably for 30 years. They need to be deported. There's a lot of people who have opposing views. But the people at the top of this, the place that we're starting, secure borders, starting with the people who are most violent and the criminals among us, the most threatening, the folks who are associated with gangs and all that stuff I laid out. That's where we should start. And then, of course, we should also be trying to find the children who have been lost in this process. Which, why isn't that talked more about? Get into the whole topic of sex trafficking and child sex trafficking, and then you got the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Diddy, all this stuff. I mean, you could take many shows down that path, which I'm not here to do that today. But why aren't we talking about that part of this more? This is not about targeting at this particular point in time. In no universe is this about targeting a farmer who's been here for 30 years and has followed the law, other than, of course, breaking the law to enter this country illegally, which is, I'm not glossing over. I'm just saying that's not what this is about. This is about getting people out of here who are bad people, who the law enforcement community thinks are bad people. If they're quote-unquote good people, but they've only broken immigration law, they can still be deported. If you're worried about those people, then stop your sanctuary city policies so ICE doesn't have to go through your streets, and you just hand over the people who are criminal or people who are clearly violent or have given us every reason to think that they are associating with things that are not good for our communities, for our children, for our safety. That's where you should start. But instead, what do they resort to? They resort to bad political theater. There's a lot more to this. That's all I can get to. I've just kind of shared with you the basics here. But Padilla was making his rounds in the media, fake crying and all this sort of stuff, trying to make this about something that it's not, because they know the power of human emotions. They know how manipulative they can be. I've got more to say about it, but I want to move on to Israel. I have to. Going to be out of time here. Friends, if you're in sales, you don't have to do it alone. Do you know that? You don't have to do it alone. Matt Easton and Easton University, they don't just give you a system. They give you accountability. They give you the tools that you need. They give you wisdom and insight, things that help you cut years off of the learning curve. And if you sign up to be a student of Easton University, get your sales training through them. If you sign up through our website, you will have a welcome call with Matt Easton himself. He'll personally jump on a call with you to go over your particular situation, your challenges, your goals, your objectives. He'll help you create a plan. He'll hold you to that plan through their weekly coaching calls. This level of accountability where you're showing up for the training and these coaching calls on a regular basis is rare, but it's the sort of thing that's going to help get you over the top, and it's what sets Matt apart. If you've been spinning your wheels, feeling stuck, here is your chance to break through. So go to toddhuffshow.com/Easton, EASTON, to claim your one-on-one call with Matt Easton whenever you sign up to be a student of Easton University. toddhuffshow.com/Easton. My friends, quick timeout, back in just a minute.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water, but you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Welcome back, my friends. I have to move on. There's so much more I want to say about Senator Padilla. What a sideshow. What clownish, childish behavior he exhibited. And then to act as though he was the victim. It pretty much sums up the way that today's modern Democrat Party behaves. They are not serious. Anyone who acts like this is the fall of civilization or the beginning of authoritarianism is either incredibly naive and uneducated, or they are part of the problem insofar as they are pushing a narrative that is clearly not true, a lie. In fact, this stuff cannot be taken seriously, although we have to talk about it because there are unfortunately people who do take this nonsense seriously. So I want to shift gears. I want to talk about what's happening between Israel and Iran. Now, before the program yesterday, you would have heard, maybe you heard some mumbling, some murmurs about a potential strike of Israel striking Iran. So let's lay the foundation here as quickly and as efficiently as I can. Israel, of course, is a nation that was formed in 1948. Well, the most modern rendition, I guess you could say, the most modern version of the current state of Israel was formed in 1948. And it was formed in the wake of World War II. This was back when, of course, Hitler was targeting, among many folks, but one group he targeted were the Jewish people. And he had been putting them in concentration camps, doing evil, forced medical testing, forced labor, just abusive gas chambers, all that stuff, execution, you name it, starving these people to death. Hitler believed the amount of evil that he had embraced and embodied while on this planet was a lot. He thought he was building a perfect race, right? The Aryan nation. He needed to get rid of Jewish people and people that didn't look a certain way and all this stuff, people who had mental handicaps and disabilities. Hitler was here to fix, I guess, all those problems through pure evil. That's what he was doing. And so in the wake of that, there's it's remarkable. The Jewish people, it's remarkable, really. Now, I would say it's not if you see it through a biblical lens, but if you don't want to look at it through a biblical lens, have you ever wondered why today, all these years later, we still have a group referred to as Jewish people, but we're the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, and all these other groups of people. They don't exist. Now, you can say they've become another group of people, or that particular group of people are now making up this group, but the Jewish people have maintained their identity throughout the millennia. And that's because, from a Christian biblical perspective, because they had been selected by God as the group of people through which he was going to ultimately save the world. And it's remarkable. They had spread out around the world over time, but yet they still maintained their identity. Many, of course, still celebrating the Jewish festivals and all of that. And so they also we know that Jewish folks are targeted with hatred a lot of times. This is anti-Semitism is a real thing. It's a real thing here in this country today. If you listen to a lot of leftists, there's a couple of groups that you can hate according to the radical, godless left, and one of those is the Jewish people. Just look at this Palestinian debate on campuses and just see how much anti-Semitism that exists in among some people. And so Israel basically helped give the Jewish people a state to call home. The idea was to say, let them return to their historic homeland and let them have their own nation again, and let's hopefully not have a repeat of something like what we saw with Adolf Hitler and the Nazis during the World War II era. And so Israel it's been, from day one, it's been controversial in the sense of many of their neighbors hate them. In fact, you can go and look at Israel's history since 1948, and you can find it didn't take long for other countries to immediately begin to even wage war against Israel. The 6 Days War is one example, but there's been intifadas declared against them by the Palestinians. Arafat, of course, declared, was it the first and second intifadas, which basically means a holy war and attack to the death against the Jewish people. And it's a very volatile part of the world. They have people who hate them religiously and ethnically, all around them. That's why, the Palestinians who will chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They're chanting for the death of the Israelis. They want them eradicated from the land. And then you've got Iran over there too. Iran is a theocracy, the Islamic Republic of Iran, who teaches that Israel is basically just not worthy of existence. The things that are said by the Iranian regime against the Israeli people is unbelievable. They call them pigs. In fact, I've shared this on here before. I remember years ago watching a documentary where, the people were exploring the root causes of the conflict in that region of the world between the Jews and Arabs and Muslims and all of this, right? All this happening. And you go to some of these schools over there, some of these Palestinian schools, and when they're teaching their children, back when we were kids, there might have been a sentence on the board that said, Susie went to the store to buy 3 apples, and you had to write that down for your handwriting in English, in first or second grade, whatever. You had to do that for the day. Well, their sentence for the day might be Abraham, the evil, filthy pig Jew, fill in the blank. That's how they talk. Anytime I say the filthy, ridiculous things other people say, I realize someone can pull that clip and make it sound like I'm saying that. I'm not saying that. They say that. They teach their kids that. It's remarkable. There's hatred. And this goes back, I've talked about this before, but this can be traced all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, Sarai, Ishmael, Hagar, that whole story in the book of Genesis, truly. This can be traced back to that period of time. It's quite remarkable, really, when you think about it. But regardless, there's a lot of tension. And in Iran, you have people that are at the top of the list who hate Israel the most. And so we did a stupid thing when Obama was president. We had an Iranian nuclear deal that was signed into place. The Iranians basically told the world, we're trying to deliver efficient electricity to people in rural parts of our state. We need to have nuclear energy. We promise we won't use it for nuclear weapons. We're just using this because we're super humanitarian, even though these people are way out of control and oppressive on their own citizens. In fact, if you show your ankle, the Islamic religious police in Iran will beat you. There are consequences. They are out of control. This is bad stuff. This is the opposite of what we have here in the West. And what's interesting is, if you can step back from all the humanity of this, or the inhumanity of the way that they treat people over there, if you look at this, by the way, you want to know where real oppression and hatred exists? Go to the Islamic Republic of Iran. I had an individual on here who's a believer who was locked in an Islamic prison who thought, I think he thought he was going to be executed. It's a remarkable story. Maybe I'll have him back on. But bottom line here is that's where real oppression and the evils that we see in the world are really, really deep. Certainly individually, people here can abuse their freedom and liberty to do bad things. But having a country that embraces freedom and liberty is not a bad thing. People can use it individually for bad things, but collectively, the idea of being free is a good thing, right? That is a very good thing, in fact. And so this nation of Iran has, of course, through the nuke deal, they've gotten closer to being able to develop, or they're right on the precipice, it's believed. Some people believe they have it, but they're right on the precipice at least, if not already have it, the ability to have a nuclear weapon. And Israel thought that they were weeks away from having nuclear weapons. So When you have a country who's promised, when they develop nuclear weapons, to wipe you off the face of the planet, you have a vested interest in making sure they don't get that. And so that's the background of how we got to very quickly. There's much, much, much more to it. That's weeks of programs. But bottom line is that's where we started before the bombing took place. Timeout's in order, my friends. Back in a minute.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Welcome back, my friends. Think about this for just a moment. Our investments are like seeds that we plant. They grow, they multiply, but are they bearing the kind of fruit that we want? At 4-8 Financial, they believe that our money should reflect our values. They specialize in wealth management and biblically responsible investing, screening out companies that do not align with the Christian faith. It's all part of their purpose-centered financial planning, helping us live a life of meaning and purpose. You want to see if your current investments align with your values. Visit 48financial.com/Todd, and those are the numbers, 48financial.com/Todd, and you can take an assessment to see if your current investments are in alignment with your values. It's amazing what some of these companies support, my friends. If you care about this, I encourage you to take this assessment. It's free to do. 4-8 Financial, my friends, they're here to worry about your money so that you don't have to. All right, I want to conclude. I don't have as much time. I knew I wasn't going to have as much time as I'd hoped to have. So if we want to kind of pick up where we left off last segment, you've got a situation where Israel knows. Israel, by the way, is the size of New Jersey. Look at a map. Look at a map of Israel. Tiny little Israel, who, by the way, has one of the best air forces in the world today. They have the protection, I would say, of the hand of God, and they also have a very capable military. Everybody serves in the military, and Israel, protecting their existence is a daily. It's obvious daily there. I mean, they need the provision. They know that they need. We all do. They know that they need the provision and protection of Almighty God on a regular basis because they're surrounded by people that truly want them to be wiped off the face of the planet. And so when their intelligence tells them that they have an enemy who wants them wiped off the face of the planet, and their days or weeks away from acquiring the ability to strike with the nuclear weapon, at least that's what Israel thinks, then Israel goes in and makes a strike. Now, here's what's interesting. Number one, this happened last night, or technically this morning, Friday. It would have been Friday. The Sabbath is at sundown on Friday until sundown on Saturday, what we would call Saturday evening. And the Iranians, I've heard, I get some reporting. My uncle used to serve as a tour guide. He's been on this program too for the at the Garden Tomb of Jesus, and so he's lived in Israel when he serves there as a tour guide. He's been many times. He's been there for prolonged periods of time and knows a lot about it. And he's connected me with some folks who are basically insiders into what's happening in Israel. And the reports are, the Iranians didn't think anything was going to happen until at least Sunday, presumably because they didn't think Israel would attack during the Sabbath, and because of some head fakes. The United States, we had a scheduled meeting, a sixth meeting, to go through another talk with Iran about the nuclear, their situation, to try to stop this from happening. And actually, the president of Argentina was in Israel yesterday. Netanyahu had taken him to the Western Wall. There's some interesting things that happened. The Bible verse that Netanyahu placed inside the Western Wall was actually a verse that they used to name this operation. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that's really fascinating from that perspective, but they caught the Iranians flat-footed. The Iranians knew that Israel was likely to do stuff, but they didn't think it was going to happen until at least Sunday, after the Jewish Sabbath. But it happened Thursday, or I guess Friday morning. It happened Friday morning. And they caught a lot of these generals and scientists that were involved in leading the Iranians, the people that are leading the charge with the nuclear program, the people who are leading the charge in the military, the people that are at the top of the head of the snake. And these folks were sleeping at home, and they struck a lot of these homes and took these folks out because the Iranians judged that they were not in danger until at least a couple more days, which they would have been probably in bunkers or somewhere below ground on Sunday or after the Sabbath. But because of the head fakes and the misdirection and the planning and the, of course, concern about what was going to happen. What is Iran going to do? How close are they to being able to strike Israel? The Israelis pulled off, as they have many times throughout their short history, some incredible military feats. This was no small feat what they did. This, and by the way, some people believe this isn't just a one-strike thing. This is something that, be prepared for this to continue, and also be prepared for Iran to retaliate. I know that they've sent the drones and all that sort of stuff, but this could turn into a mess really, really quickly. But I'm out of time, my friends. Gotta go. Have a great weekend. SDG.